What's up, everybody? This is Carlton Cullins, personal trainer and nutrition specialist here in Austin, Texas. I am also the owner of the Blue Sky Strongbox, and today is February 22nd, 2010. Today what I want to talk about is the problems that arise from sitting down too much. Today what I want to predominantly talk about is two main areas. I want to talk about the hip complex and the shoulder complex. You've got to understand that most people, a lot of people sit down all day at their jobs. And then they come home and they also sit down at home. You sit down in your car, on your drive. Some people stand up at work and they still have to drive home sitting. They come home, they watch TV sitting. They eat food sitting. So we're just sitting way, way too much. And a lot of bad things happen when that happens. So two areas of the hip complex and the shoulder complex. Let's look at it real quick. I've talked about this in previous videos, so go back and watch the videos. The video that I talked about posture and stuff like that. Obviously, you don't want to slouch, but you sit in a chair long enough, you're going to slouch. That's just how it is, even me. So, besides slouching, you got to understand that your hips, your butt, is just sitting there on a flat board. It's not doing anything. The longer you sit there every day, every week, every year, throughout the rest of your life, the longer you sit, the worse things start happening. Your butt becomes like, it just stops working pretty much unless you do things to make sure that it starts working again. That's a bad thing when your glutes, your butt, and your glutes, I'll kind of call those the same thing. When your gluteus are not working correctly, you are at a higher risk for back injury, or other muscles, particularly in the upper body, have to pick up the slack. So you don't want that to happen. That causes it wreaks a lot of havoc on the body. You want the glutes to fire. So what we've got to do is interrupt this process. The same thing happens with the shoulder. When you're slouching too much like this, the thoracic spine, the middle part of your spine up here, is bent now. It's not just your lower back, it's your upper back actually. It's bent. It causes the shoulder blades to come apart a little bit, and that just messes up all of the musculature of the shoulder. It causes a lot of different pain. So if you go and you start exercising and you're not properly lined up, it's going to cause a lot of problems, and eventually it's going to probably lead to injury. So what I'm trying to do is just give you a couple of things to do today that you can do every day that can help prevent these two things from happening. They're really easy to do. Before I do anything, I talked about foam rolling a couple of weeks ago. I still highly recommend this to every single person. These are about $10 offline, and you can foam roll every day certain problem areas, and that goes a long way. Okay, let's talk about two main things. Let's talk about the hip complex first. You've got to get your butt, you've got to get your glute firing. So, first and foremost, if you don't know this stretch, this is called the hip flexor stretch. You make a 90-degree angle with one leg, a 90-degree angle with the other leg, foot flat right there, everything nice and straight. You're not all cocked out to the side like this, you're straight ahead. And you just want to stretch this right here. So you just kind of lean forward slightly. You want to engage your glute right here and stretch this out. If you sit all day, you sit too much, you need to do this every day, just a little bit. Hold this for about 30 seconds on each side. You can go to one side, then go to the other. You can do that. Now what happens is you loosen this up. And when these are too tight, and that's what happens, when you sit down too much, these are too tight, it disengages the other side. So imagine this is one side and this is the other. If this is too tight, this is too loose. So now that we stretch these out, now we need to get these working and firing. See, one of the easiest things to do is just lay on your back, feet straight ahead, put your hands down here, and just come up and squeeze your butt at the top. And then come down. Just come up for a nice 1 second squeeze, and then come down. Doing a set about 15 to 20 of these, just one set will be fine. Now once you've got that going, now we need to work on trying to increase the flexibility of the hips. And a great exercise to do that is to have your feet kind of pointed out straight here. And you want to see if you can go down slowly, keeping your chin up. You don't want to bend over like this. You want to try to stay up like this and get down as low as you comfortably can without your knees going in. You want to keep them out. And you want to try to touch your elbows to your inner knee and then push out on your legs and then come back up. Now the key is you've got to stay straight. You've got to stay on your heels the whole time, not on your toes, on your heels, and stay straight up. If you're bending over like this, you're probably not ready. So if you go down and you start to fold over, go down as far as you can and still stay straight. You want to try to increase the flexibility, the range of motion in your hips. So you want to work on trying to get down and doing these. Eventually, a healthy person should be able to squat to about a 10 or 12 inch box. Every single person, even if you're 6'7", as my best friend Jay is, you should be able to eventually get down and sit down. It's much like sitting down in a chair. You need to be able to do that. Now the shoulder complex, the other thing I want to talk about, The easiest exercise to get that mobile and to get the mobility into it and some flexibility is to go from your knees, put your arms straight, lock them out at the elbows, point your hands out about 45 degrees. It seems to help keep them straight. And what you want to do is you just want to keep your arms straight and let your shoulder blades come together on your back and then come back up. There's not much range of motion in this. It's real little, but this does a whole lot of good. You're just kind of relaxing into the stretch and then coming up. So you're not hiking your shoulders. You're bringing your shoulder blades together in the back. But you're doing it while your arms are straight the whole time. You don't bend your elbows. Just straighten just increase. Try to go a little deeper. You want to do about 20 of these, 15, 20 of these. So if you do 15 or 20 of those squats on the ground, these are called bridges. And then maybe get up and do about 15, 20 of these. And then coming up and then about 15 or 20 of these. That's a great warm-up. Remember to make sure before you do that bridge, that first one, you probably want to stretch your hip flexors out. And do about 30 seconds on each side. So the hip flexor stretch, the bridges coming up from the ground. These are called, they call these goblet squats. You can even take a weight like this and do them. You can take a round weight, whatever. Do these, push apart, come back up. And those are some easy drills to help prevent your body from getting old and decrepit and being all like this, because that's what you're going to look like if you don't do something about it. That's my tips for this week. Work hard. I wish you the best. I'll see you next week.